China has done an incredible job containing COVID-19, really is the hallmark of the world's response, really is the example that every country probably should have emulated, and some countries did, and most countries did not. And the United States had a huge role in that. But nonetheless, China has been able to stop the worst effects of COVID-19 from ravaging their society. And not only have has China only experienced, I think, one death since 2021, since the beginning of 2021 from COVID-19, but also life is relatively back to normal. All of this got to get back to normal, got to get back to normal mentality that a lot of people have, even on the left, with response to COVID-19. China has kind of done that with these mitigation measures, and the closed loop is a big part of that. And it's been praised, and you'll see that. But also with the clean energy, right? 100% clean energy Olympics. All of the facilities were powered by green energy, electricity, wind, and solar. And 80% of the facilities themselves were repurposed from 2008. I mean, that's an incredible feat in and of itself, something that's never been done before, and just shows how far China is willing to go to make good on their commitments to reducing the impact of climate change, as China still tries to develop out of their status historically as being one of the poorest countries in the world. Still, despite China's huge economy that will likely surpass the US in GDP terms by the end of the decade, China is still a relatively poor country with a per capita GDP about a fifth to a sixth of the United States. And some places don't have basic amenities. Even though extreme poverty has been eliminated, there's still the quality, there's still the value in certain areas that needs to be enhanced in order to increase people's quality of life. And China is committed to reducing climate change while balancing their economic development. It's one of the few countries in the world that's doing that. And so salute to China for applying that to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics. So also during the Olympics, Beijing debuted a high-speed rail just for the games, right? Well, not just for the games, but high-speed rail that was debuted for the games to make it easier to travel to and from the two locations where these games would be occurring. And to me, that's just an incredible testament to the investment that China has made in infrastructure, high-quality public infrastructure, which increases people's quality of life and also increases economic development, improves the overall situation for society, and also helps fight climate change by transitioning from this kind of high carbon intensive industrial model to a more high tech model that uses clean energy. This particular high speed rail was actually the first self driving model as well. So think about that. For the Beijing 22 Winter Olympic Games, in a world filled with chaos, catastrophe from COVID-19, the economic situation not being great, China was able to do this, literally roll out an invention, a self driving high-speed rail just for the games. So why hasn't anyone talked about that? It's pretty ridiculous here in the West to think about that none of this is mentioned. You can't say good things about China. And actually, Olympic athletes have experienced how you get backlash for saying good things about China. I mean, first we had Eileen Gu, who's still fighting the good fight out there, going after Western media whenever they attack China on social media. But more broadly, Eileen Gu was attacked just for choosing China as the team she wanted to represent, the country she wanted to represent, because she hails from China. Her mom is Chinese, hails from China, has Chinese citizenship, and Eileen Gu has a pretty strong moral compass to try to use her status as a way to fight this Cold War mentality. She didn't say it like that, but to say you want to enhance cooperation between countries and people is in direct contradiction to this new Cold War. But it wasn't just Eileen Gu who has received some backlash. So this is a story that came out. I think it wasn't today, but it was in the last few days. So Winter Olympics U.S. skier says Twitter account suspended after he praised Beijing Games. They get pretty bad media, he said. The three-time Olympian Aaron Blunk says China has done a stellar job while criticizing biased coverage of the games. Snowboarder Tessa Maud, who I was also going to talk about, says she has tears in her eyes when she recalls how warmly she was welcomed on arrival in Beijing. So the story is three-time Olympian Aaron Blunk said he was suspended from Twitter after he and his U.S. ski teammates praised China for its stellar operations at the Olympic Village. Quote, well, let me show you what he actually said. But, quote, they have honestly done a stellar job with the whole COVID protocol. So there you go. The 25-year-old told reporters in the press room before criticizing biased coverage of the games. I didn't know what to expect. Being stateside, you've kind of got some pretty bad media, and that is completely false. It's actually been phenomenal, he said. So he said that his Twitter account was then suspended after saying this and then went to Instagram to protest the social platform's unexplained decision, reposting a fan's comment that read, Aaron Blunk is out here telling the truth and getting punished by his own government. So Blunks further shared a commentator's tweet accusing the U.S. government of being behind his account being shut down. Twitter has executed the order of the Western ruling cabals. Punishment comes pretty fast, Blunk tagged Twitter and asked, what I do? So here you go. This is the whole scene here for Aaron Blunk. And, I'm just going to stop it there because I want to show you what he actually said. So I'm going to actually share the video. Bear with me here. So we're going to get Aaron Blunk's direct take.
Accommodation.
Hold on one second. So this is Jing Li's video. Just let me know. So Jing Li, good comrade. I'm not sure if I shared the audio here. I think I did. But let me know if you can hear this, okay? I want to actually fast forward to what he said. Actually, we can just watch the whole video because I think this gets
of the Beijing 2022 Winter.
This gets to the heart of the matter. So let's just play this whole video because it's actually a really good video. I highly recommend you follow Jing Li, good friend of mine as well. So here we go.
Olympics, you probably will believe, wow, this Winter Olympics suck. Some American journalists in the closed loop are complaining their steak is too dry. Some complaints, why my martini is served by a bartender in hazmat suit. What a dystopian world am I living in? But if you hear from actual athletes who are competing at this Winter Olympics, and some of them participated in several Olympics, not just Beijing 2022, you will hear completely different stories.
Being stateside, you kind of heard some pretty bad media, and that is completely false. It's actually been phenomenal. Everybody from staff to COVID testers to accommodation, it's probably honestly one of the better Olympics that we've been to. So
I just think all the people in the staff within the Olympic Village are so genuine and kind, and they're such a happy, they're always waving their hands, so excited, and it's just refreshing and it's nice to see.
In that moment, that was the craziest moment of my life. Genuinely, like the craziest moment.
Yeah! Welcome to China! Thank you!
So, and that guy who said, welcome to China, literally just like makes me tear up every time because they're so nice. Like all the volunteers are so sweet and so kind, and they're just like so happy that we're here. We feel so welcome.
So why athletes and media are presenting completely different stories of the same Olympics? What are the other stories that the media is not showing you? Let's take a look together. Hey guys, welcome to Talk It Out. I'm Li Jingjing. More latest stories about the Winter Olympics. In last episode, we take a look at how some Western media are attacking freestyle skier Eileen Gu, who was born in the United States, but chose to represent China during this Beijing 2022 Olympics. And they are continuing doing it. Take a look at this article by The Economist. I don't know, how do you feel about this headline and the image, but to me, it's a little bit racist. And you can sense some Western.
A little bit racist, yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I remember citing that article. I didn't even look at the image. Sometimes I don't look at these images because they're just so far flung, right? They're just so over the top that now I'm almost inclined not to look at them because I'm just like, damn, this is intense, right? So anyway, in that article, Jing Li won't get into it deeply, but in that Economist article, they try to make it, and you can kind of see in the headline, they try to make it that Eileen Gu had some agonizing experience choosing China, right? That she was caught in between these superpowers and she didn't know what to do. Literally no quotes. They didn't even, you'll see, they didn't talk to her at all. And they just made this up to paint this story. Anyway, let's go.
Fragility. How dare this half Chinese woman chose to represent China? But Eileen Gu is fighting back. It's not the first time Eileen Gu fires back at the Western media's unbalanced report. When figure skater Zhu Yi, who gave up her American citizenship and joined the Chinese citizenship, she was bullied by a small group of ignorant users online. But that's just a small group of ignorant trolls. They do not represent the public opinion of Chinese. The majority of Chinese actually really understand what she went through, and they really understand athletes may fail and totally understand and support her.
And actually, Zhu Yi recovered. Yesterday, she was back on the ice to compete with her sweetest smile and huge cheering from Chinese audiences and her teammates.
But the insider wrote this story. But guess who fights back? Eileen Gu again. She says, as someone who actually uses Chinese social platforms, I'm going to say right here that over 90% of comments are positive and uplifting. It's part of the sport and everyone understands that. It's harder for these Western journalists to make Winter Olympics look bad because actually athletes from around the world have been sharing how much they enjoy the food, the facilities, accommodation, the hospitality of Chinese people during this Beijing 2022. They're sharing that on their personal social platforms.
This is my red bean bun. Red bean bun, right? It's so yummy. Green tea cookie. Like matcha shortbread. Let's try grape. They have little stems. I've never had this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's so good.
I have something incredible to share. Because not only do we not have cardboard beds here, but it's as if the Beijing organizing committee said, how can we just absolutely just one up Tokyo? And this is what they went with. I'm in zero G mode now. It's phenomenal.
There is different gifts. Some of them are not just from the host country, but the people of the host country. I was a bit touched by the fact that a Chinese kid has like handmade, each of them are individual for every athlete here. They handmade a drawing. They really did a great effort. And then we got that as we arrived here, like as a gesture, as a way of supporting us as athletes.
Seems like all the athletes are having a pretty good time and the US journalists are the only ones complaining. And maybe that's why these warmongering media and politicians who constantly pushing anti-China narratives were afraid of people coming to China for Winter Olympics. Because once people come here, they like here. They see the truth, they see the hospitality of Chinese people with their own eyes. And the media's lies about China just fall apart.
So there you go. I mean, I get emotional when I see that stuff just because I miss it so bad. When I see Tessa Ma eating all that food, I'm just like, girl, you're really killing me right now because the food in China is incredible. You can get so many different things. One of the interesting things about opening up and reform that is really, I think, for me, I mean, for anybody, just such a interesting thing to see is just, opening up a reform is often seen as like, oh, foreign capital just came in and ran roughshod over the Chinese economy, and now it's just like foreign direct investment is dominating the country. Well, when you go to China, even in the busiest, most metropolitan areas of Beijing, the number of these small private businesses that obviously have government support, with government owns the land, first of all, so regulates the cost of the property, the leasing of the property. But man, when you see how many different kinds of things you can get and just it's overwhelming to some degree, but like I had no idea. But everything is good and yeah, it's certainly an experience. And so Tessa Ma, man, when I'm watching her TikTok, I actually have her TikTok up and I can share some of the stuff that she uh that she shared because it is quite incredible what Tessa did, especially because I think all she did was show how good the food was, in her opinion, how tasty it was, and how much she appreciated being treated so kindly. I mean, it's just at that human level, such small gestures being significant of something. I think also shows that Tessa is not the typical arrogant American. I mean, Jesus, some of the people I went to China with had a completely different way of relating, and they're not fucking Olympic Olympic snowboarders and skiers and winter athletes with all this talent. No, but obviously she comes from a more humble place. But let's look at her TikTok, all right? And I want to play some of them because I think it's just beautiful to see, right? Beautiful to see. And I want to first show the one where she talks about how appreciative, craziest night of my life. Let's watch this one.
We're in the bus.
There's a high-speed rail right there.
Wow.
There's the bird's nest.
Welcome to China. Thank you. Welcome. Oh We're on our way. We're in the bus.
All right, so that was just a quick TikTok from her. You know how much. So here's the scene that.
Welcome to China. Thank you. Welcome.
So she said, "Bring me to tears every time." I mean, it's just. I think there's something very significant. That's why I definitely want and why I do raise money for my work is because I definitely want to go back and show people that there is a different way of relating in China, that Chinese people do not look at foreigners. There definitely is a nationalism there, and there definitely is some suspicion of foreigners, but there is also a pretty broad understanding of how important it is to have cordial relations with everybody, and there is a different cultural and social relationship that people have, the way that you're treated there, even by security. It's just different. Like they're not there to like bat you over the head, like, even in airport security or the transit security. It never felt like. I remember they were looking at my bags through one of these like whatever checkpoints through the tourist areas, and they were just like, "Do you have a knife?" Like they couldn't say it in English, but they knew I couldn't understand Mandarin, and I was like, "No," because they spotted some metal, and then I took out like a water bottle, and they're just like, "Oh, fine," and it was just a different way of being that was so beautiful, and I miss it so much. So when I look at these athletes getting to go, I'm just like, you are lucky. Jing Lee, she had a opening ceremony video that got taken down because of copyright, but I watched it before it got taken down, and I was just thinking in my head, oh my gosh, take me back. Like, I wish I was there. So let's just do a little bit of her food. So here's the bad food in China.
Bitches come and go, bro, but you know I stay.
So that's just some of the bad food in China, right? Oh, it looks gross. Here's another.
I'm at the restaurant. I just ordered, so I'll show you what I got. This is what I got so far. These are like free snacks. This is so good. I love these. Here's my stir-fried broccoli and kung pao chicken. It looks so good. It's literally so good. I feel like I've been eating vegetables the whole time I've been here, so really good. I love the onions and the peanuts and the chilies. Literally amazing.
I miss those. I really miss those. So anyway, that gives you just a little bit of a taste of, first of all, the food. But it was because you had, as you saw Jing Lee post, oh, these Western journalists, US journalists, they can't eat the good Western food that they want. They can't get their steak and fries that they want. Meanwhile, you have all this incredible food at your disposal. And Ian Goodrum tweeted, I hope to have Ian Goodrum on here someday because he is also a good comrade. But he tweeted that they're obviously ordering, he lives in Beijing, they're obviously ordering Western food on purpose, you know? Because even if you go to like a McDonald's and KFC in Beijing, it's different. You know, it's not 100% exported American food. There's a lot of Chinese characteristics put into it. And so you're not going to get like a traditional American cheeseburger from McDonald's in China. And you know what? That's 100% okay. I am okay with that. I'm actually more than okay with that. When I look at what Tessa Mod was eating, I literally just break up inside because the shit that I'm forced to eat in the United States, the nastiness. I mean, when I was in China, although I had a lot of stomach troubles because of the jet lag, holy crap. Never experienced that in my life. I felt crazy. I felt like I was going insane because I had stomach issues for like 7 days out of the 15, 16 that I was there. So, and what Tessa Mod said, you can go a long time without eating vegetables because there's so much incredible meat, so much incredible dumplings. So you can go a long time without eating, even though there are vegetables served, but you can go a long time without it if you decide to choose what you find to be the most tasty. So yeah, when I just think about the contrast, I'm just like, take me back. But anyway, it's just a simple way of debunking that horrific anti-China propaganda. And it's not going to stop because the agenda is still there. And it's up to us to really attack this, to really counter it. Because people like Dave Zirin, people like Jules Boykoff, people on most of the American left, most of the Western left, they're not going to do it because they are invested in the anti-China propaganda and the new Cold War in their own way. Even if they say they're not for a hot war, they're for war. And no matter what form the war takes, it usually always leads in the same direction, to more conflict, more imperialism, more suffering for people, especially the indigenous people of the Asia Pacific, especially for those smaller, lesser developed countries still under the gun of imperialism. That's who really suffers the most under this, because China will be okay. As long as there's not some kind of nuclear winter, China will be okay. China will continue to do what it is set out to do, develop its economy, alleviate relative poverty now, become a modern socialist country by 2050. It will continue to do the Belt and Road Initiative, to build that up, to build a multipolar world, to increase unity in the country, to create a common future for humankind, a shared future for humankind. That's what China's going to do. And no amount of propaganda is going to stop that. The problem is that it stops us. It stops us. It makes it so our priorities here in the belly of the imperialist beast are so warped that we end up being pawns and agents in the imperialist design. And it's happening to more and more people now. And it's getting more and more subtle now with this whole COVID-19 lockdown left narrative, with this complete refutation of public health and mitigation measures, with this growing right-wing sentiment, libertarian sentiment as a response to neoliberalism. I mean, all of that is inevitably going to come back at China. I mean, I remember during the second iteration of the lab leak theory and everyone was getting on Fauci, which, look, I'm no Fauciite. I certainly don't like the guy. But to take it to this narrative, oh, there was a lab leak and the US was going behind China's back, even to assume that, is just to believe in politics as fable, right? It's not even legitimately believable. It's not even something worth investigating, because now you're talking about a sovereign country, a proud country, a country that is highly intentional about how it maintains its self-determination and how it stays on task with its national interests. Now you're talking about that country letting the United States meddle in its affairs to the point where the United States creates a virus behind its back. First of all, a virus that isn't even really, you can't, for what we know, you can't make SARS-CoV-2 in a lab. You just can't do it. It's just too hard. Sorry, human beings just ain't there yet. Not even the big bad CIA and the Pentagon, which they're capable of a lot of things, a lot of biological and chemical warfare, of which I covered in one of my latest Substack articles last month. But you can't do that. You can't create a whole new virus. You can certainly do other things. You can spread the plague, you can spread bacterial infections, you can spread that. That's been done by the US government. You can check out my article and see. On biological and chemical warfare by the United States. Look at what Agent Orange did to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, U.S. veterans here, Vietnamese people, Laos, Hmong people here. There's so many people infected with Agent Orange. And that includes, I know I have a comrade, Panamanian, talks about how it was done in Panama. It's been done in a lot of places, guys, Agent Orange. So look, that's biological warfare, not out of the realm of the U.S.'s capacity. Creating a whole new virus? Yeah, that's out of the U.S. That's out of all of our capacity. And so to believe that there's some sort of smoking gun, it just drives me absolutely bonkers, because it just reinforces anti-China propaganda in the most, not stealth to me, but it is stealth in the broader sense, because ordinary people, if you make that argument, they might be convinced because they're so distrustful of the United States, rightfully so.